I want to show you guys how to charge your customers in dollar if you are living in somewhere like West Africa. Let's say you are not living in somewhere like Canada, you are not living in USA, you are not living in somewhere like London, but you still want to charge your customers in dollars. And that's just because maybe the type of service that you render or the product that you sell, you kind of do it internationally, and you want to like make the pricing of your product really simple enough and easy to understand. So you want to charge in dollars, and you don't want to use something like Stripe or PayPal to be able to collect the money. So you can actually use something like Paystack to do that, and I've actually done that quite a lot of time, and I want to show you how to do that in this video. All right, so we're going to do that practically. We're going to create an application that we kind of integrated a Paystack, and we were able to list our products in dollars and then collect the money in dollar, and we can also get settled in dollar. All right, so that's just basically what I want to do in this video for you guys. So without wasting more time, let me demo the application for you guys, and then we can move on from there. So here is the app we'll be building in this video, and it's really very simple. We basically need to enter a full name, enter an email address, and then once we hit on proceed to payment, it's going to go ahead and then initiate that payment. All right, and we're going to like spend $100 for this particular payment right here. So that's just the amount, but your own amount can actually be anything that you want. So I'm going to just try to put a name in here, and I'm going to just basically call this code Kinder, and then automatically the email is actually there right there. So this is code@codekinder.com right there. And then if we hit on proceed to pay right here, it's going to attempt to initialize the payments. All right, so as you can see, the payment is actually initialized with the email address that we entered earlier, and this is the amount that is to be paid. And I want you guys to kind of understand that I'm actually on the test mode right here, and if you are actually on the live mode, it won't actually show these cards that we have in here. It's going to just like open up a form where you need to fill in your card details. All right, but because we're actually in test mode, we can speed things up with by just maybe selecting one of these right here. All right, so if you want to decline the payment, you can go through here. If you want to pay through bank authentication, if you want to pay through bank authentication, you can actually use it. But I want to use a Visa card, which I'm going to hit on success in here, and you see that this is actually a Visa card. So when you hit on pay USD right here, the payment is actually going to go through, right? So that has been validated and it has actually gone through, and then it generated this particular success page for us where it says a payment successful, and this is the email, and this is the amount that was paid, and then we do have payment reference right here. All right, so that's pretty simple, right? So that is just how that is. So without wasting much time, we want to like go into the video proper. But however, before I actually start writing any lines of code, let me just get into my dashboard of my Paystack right here, and I like to explain a couple of things for you right here. So the account that I'm actually using is not actually this particular account right here, because I do not actually have Zenith bank account that I can actually use with this particular Paystack right here. And the reason that I say that is because if you go to, let's say you want to add your USD account right here, your dollar account or domiciliary account, you just basically want to, once you log into your dashboard on Paystack, you want to go to settings right here, and once you go to your settings, you take a look at these tabs right here, and you want to go to where we have accounts right here. So if I hit on accounts, it's going to open up this page. All right, and you must be on the live mode before you can actually see this, guys. So I'm actually switched to live mode on this particular page. So this is my details from that of the Paystack. All right, so I do have this account enabled on Paystack. This is just basically my Naira domiciled account, and this is just the Zenith bank account. But for whatever reason, for those of you who are actually watching this video and they want to like begin to receive dollar payments from that, using that of the Paystack, all you need to do is to hit on where we have add USD account right here. So I want to hit on that, and it's going to open up this particular message for you. It says USD can currently only be settled in Zenith Bank USD accounts. So you must have a Zenith Bank USD account, and once you have that, all you need to do is to fill this form out. So if you select Zenith in here, enter the account number, which is your domiciliary account from that of the Paystack, and after that you click on where we have something like add account, and they're going to kind of verify that and make sure that it's a kind of gets added. So once you make money from that, it gets sent to you within 7 working days right here, just like they have actually outlined on this particular line. And if you have any issues, they know how to settle the issues right there. All right, so if you want to learn how to create a Zenith bank account, you can actually follow this right here, and I think that Paystack is actually going to send you a form that you can fill that you can actually use to kind of facilitate your account creation with Zenith Bank. All right, and once that is validated, they can give you an account number and you can come back and fill it right here. So I'm just explaining this so that you know that the API keys we're actually going to be using once you switch to this particular dollar account within this particular page, after everything you click on add a bank account, it's going to just basically go and then begin to charge your customers in dollars. All right, and it's working currently. So that's just basically what I want to do. So as for this particular one that I've actually done, I did have a friend who has an account, a dollar account with that of the what is it called, with that of the Zenith Bank, and he has that enabled on his Paystack account. So I kind of asked him to kind of lend me his account API so that I can actually use it to record this particular video. So I just want to get that cleared out of the way. So that is just that. So for those of you who may want to like maybe follow the documentation, it's just pretty the same thing. You can go to this URL right here and then you can actually follow whatever direction that is actually here. All right, but I'm not going to just be coming here as we move along with this video. I'm just basically going to go ahead and then code the stuff that we want basically. All right, so that's just what that is right here. So what we want to do first is that if we open up our editor right here, that is a folder called a Paystack USD right here, which I have a kind of created. So if you take a look at my XAMPP control panel, you're going to see that I do have Paystack underscore USD right here, which is just basically the folder that I want to basically create all of my files in. And it's already empty right now. So, and that is what is actually opened on this page. So all I need to do right now is to start creating the files. So I want to create my first files right here. So this is going to be initialized. So let's make sure I type that correctly. This is initialized.php, and I open that up. That's just basically my first file in there, and I want to create another file which I'm going to just basically call a config. So this is going to be config.php. Open that up, and the third one I want to create, remember that we're going to just basically be making use of OOP in this video. So for that reason, I'm going to create something like a class here. That is a file that I want to create, which I'm going to just basically start with a capital letter right here. So this is just called we're going to just call that paystack.php right here. All right, so remember that I started this with a capital letter. Make sure you follow the convention. So we're going to just be using OOP for this. So I have that file opened up, and the last file I want to create right there is actually going to be the let's say verify.php, in case you want to write some code for the verification. So I'm going to just say verify.php. All right, and then open that up, and let's make sure we type that correctly. So that's just basically okay. So I want to close this, all of this right here, and the one I just basically want to leave open is the initialize.php. So at first I want to throw in my HTML boilerplate. So if I do exclamation and then hit tab on my keyboard, it's going to generate this for me. And what I want to do is to enter the title in here. So this is going to be just, I want to just say pay with Paystack USD. All right, so that's just basically going to be the title right there. So we could just kind of put this like this. All right, so that is just that. So the next thing I want to do is really cool. So within here, let me just go ahead and create a div. So this is going to be div, and then I want to give that a class, and we're basically going to call this something like container. So this is going to be container, and you can close that down here. So this is going to get closed right here. And then what I want to have inside of this container, I want to have an h2 tag right here. And what I want to have is just say something like pay. This is going to be $100 right there. Let's say this is going to be, we could just maybe call this something like an acceptance, and we can close out the h2 right here. All right, so we have that in there. So the next thing I want to do is that I basically want to, so let's create a form in here. So this is going to be form like that, and what I want to do within this form right here is to draw, like basically spell out those two fields that we basically need. So the first one is actually going to be for us like grab onto the person's name. So to do that, we'll just do input. Then we'll just say type, and we'll set that to text. So this is going to be text, and we can go ahead and then give this a name. That's going to be a name in here, and basically we're going to just call this something like name for the people's surname, or you can say something like full name if you want to do that. So after that, well, let's have a placeholder in here. So this is going to be placeholder name. The next one is actually going to be a value, so we're going to just have value attribute in here, and then duplicate that. So if I get on the next line, what I want to get right here is going to be the email. So let's change the type to email right here, and then we can also change the main name right here to an email. So let's call this email, and the placeholder can just be called email address. So let's call this email address, and then Of course, I'm still also going to leave the value to empty for now because we're going to actually come back to that and then see what we can actually do. So on the last line in here, I want to create a button right here. So this is going to be button, and for this button, we are basically going to say something like that's just basically the text we saw before now, proceed to pay or something of that nature. And I want to add a type right here, which just basically will be set to a submit. So let's do that right here. So this is going to be called, let's basically say submit right here. And I also would like to add another attribute right here, which I'm just basically going to call, I'm going to call this required, so that we can use just that HTML5 required attribute to make sure that we force them to like put something in this particular fields, in those fields in there. All right, so I think that is looking a bit okay. So if we go to our browser, and what I want to do is I just basically want to go to a new tab in here, and maybe I should just basically copy this, which is on this tab, and then get in here, paste that, and I basically want to, let's take away this, and I want to just say USD right here, because that's just basically the folder name, and I want to go to initialize, and you could just call this file something like an index, all right, if you want to do that, but I just basically want to use a different style in here, so I'll just initialize the payment within this particular page in there. All right, so I want to throw in some lines of a code for the styling right here. So you can create an external file, maybe call it something like styles.css, but I want to just go ahead and put my own styles right here. So it's going to be style, attributes, tags rather, and I'm going to just do style right here and then close that. So remember, you should just basically create an external file. That's the standard anyway. But for me, I'm going to just go ahead and do what I want to do right here. So this is going to be body. And then within the body right here, let's write a couple of the styles in here. So we're going to just have a font family. All right. So we have that in there. Then the background, let me say, we're going to just set the background right here. So this is going to be background. F7 right there. So that's the type of background I want to use. Then after that, we can actually set a padding for that. So I will just do padding, and within the padding right here, what are we going to do? Let's just do 40 pixels right here, and then we can actually terminate that line. So after that, we want to work on this class right here that we call a container. To do that, I'm going to just copy and paste that and throw in my curly brackets, and then we can just set, first of all, I want to set a background for the container. So this is going to be background right here, and the background I want to use is actually going to be white. So for that reason, I will just do F3 right there, and that should give us a black background. Then after that, we'll give that a padding, and the padding right here is actually going to be 30 pixels. So let's do 30 px, and then after that, we're going to have a max width. So this is going to be max width, and I'm going to just set the max width to 400 pixels right here, and then after that we set the margin. So this is going to be margin, and I'm going to set that to auto, and after we do that, we set the border radius. So this is going to be border dash radius right there. Let's make sure I type that correctly, and that's just basically going to be set to 8 pixels. So this is going to be 8 pixels, and we're going to set the box shadow. So it's going to be box dash shadow, and let's make sure that is correct, box shadow. And what I want to do, I'm going to just set 0 space 0, and I'm going to just set that to 10 pixels. And the next thing I want to set is actually going to be the RGBA right here, and I'm going to set the first value to 0, introduce a comma, another 0, introduce comma, 0 again, and then the last value is actually going to be 0.1. That's your level of opacity I want to give to that, and we can basically terminate this line. Now what I want to do, let's save the changes first and take a look at that on the browser to see whether things are actually coming in. Okay, I think they are just basically coming in right here. So the next thing I want to do is to basically style the input field and then the submit button. I'm just basically going to copy the code and paste so that we can speed things up. All right, guys, so I do have the rest of the style copied to the clipboard, and I'm going to paste that right here. And we want to take a look at that. We started from here, and we're just setting the width of the input to 100% of the available space, and we're setting the padding to 12 pixels, and this is the margin button and the rest of the things in here. Then down here we have the submit button, which I'm just basically a kind of a writing on, a styling right there. And after that, I know you are not aware of this one, but we're going to just bring that in a GV. So if we save the changes right here, and then we'll go back in here and refresh, this should be looking like the original right here. Because if you take a look at the original, which is actually inside of OOP as a folder, so I want to take this away and just say initialize.php. You see that it just looks like this particular one right here. So for that reason, we can just go ahead and then take away the what is it called? We can close this right here. We don't need this anymore, so that we can focus our attention on the new one that we just created. All right, so if we go back in here, as for this one, we're going to just deal with that as we move along. But what I want is this: if someone clicks on this particular submit button that we have in here, we want to gather the details of that particular form, right? Whatever that is, so it's currently available on that form. So let's throw in our PHP tags in here. This is going to be PHP, and we can just close the PHP tags in here. And what I want to do, I'm just going to say if, let's use if statement in here, and we're going to just say if, basically we're going to just be requesting for something called a post request on this page. And if we get a little bit down right here into the form, I think we basically need to set, let's set that method in here. So we'll just do set method and then set that to post. So this is just basically going to be a post method in here. So we'll check for that post method up there. So to do that, it's really very simple. I'm going to just say, let's make use of a server global variable right here. So it's going to be server, and within this particular server right here, and we're going to need an index that is actually called a request method right here. So this is going to be request underscore method, and so we're going to just basically set this to exactly something like post in here. So if what is going on here is actually a post method, we can now go ahead and then gather the form data within this particular place in here. And the first one we do need to gather is going to be the name. So I'm going to just do name right here, and we can actually set that to be equal to, let's trim. I'm going to just first of all throw in this trim function in here, and what I want to do is to just go ahead and then a kind of a grab onto the post method. All right, so this is going to be a post in here, and within this particular post, what we call this in the form was actually name. So we can just reference to that as name in here, and we can go ahead and then terminate this line. If you're curious about this, you double click on that and then check the form, you see that we do have that as a name in here. So I want to do the same thing for the email right away. So I want to copy this and I want to duplicate that, and we can change the variable right here. So I'm going to just do Control D to select all of them, and we can just basically change this to email at once, and that means that this line is also okay for now. And after we do that, we are going to need an amount, right, which we clearly do not actually have that in the form, but we can actually create that and just say amount, and we can set that to be equal to, we're going to just basically charge $100, right? So this is just basically like, this is going to be USD, right? So let me just put a comment in here. So this is just USD, and we do have that right here. And after that, to make a payment in that of the Paystack, we need to like be able to generate something like a reference that is just basically going to be unique every time a payment is made. So for that reason, let's put that in it. We'll just put that in a variable, and I'm going to just generate a unique ID right here. So if I do unique ID like this, and it's a function, if we want to like, maybe I'm going to just do USD right here just to know that the payment is actually USD payment. So let's quote around these guys. It could be a single quote or double quote, no matter the type, whatever you want to basically use right here. All right, so we're going to just basically generate what is called a unique ID right here, but the unique ID is actually going to have this attached to it. So basically I just mean that this is actually going to be attached. It can be your initial. Let's say for instance this is code kinder, we can just maybe use CK like this as code kinder. All right, so the payment is actually going to have this attachment, all right, to the reference code once it generates something like a receipt for you. So that's just basically what I'm getting at, all right? But let me just use USD, and that is just that. So we want to terminate that particular line in there, and what we want to do, just within this particular if statement, is really very simple. We need to like find a way to validate our inputs, all right? So to do that, let's do a comment in here and just say handle form. Not really, I should have just changed that to, let's say, basic. And what we want to do with validation is just to try to find a way to kind of validate our input field, like the email and then the name that we'll have in there. So let's put that in an if statement. So I'm going to just do if, and within this particular place to validate an email, we're going to just say if not filter. So this is going to be if not filter. I'm going to just use var right here, and I'm going to just use var, and we're going to throw in our parentheses in here. And what I want to validate right here is going to be the email field. So this is going to be email, and we're going to just pass in an algorithm that is just actually called a filter validate underscore email. All right, so with that, if you put an email that is not actually correct, it's going to just try to like report that to you. And again, I want to also validate the what is it called, the name field. So I'm just going to basically check for an empty field. So right here, if the name is actually empty, so this is going to be name. Let's make sure I type that correctly. This is going to be name. What you basically want to do, and what you want to do is to like report some errors for them. All right. So to do that, we can just create a variable that we're just going to basically call error, and that's just basically what I was telling you about, that we're just going to take care of right here. So let's put a message in here, and you can just say something like, please enter a valid email. That is just the two things that we basically kind of need in there. But we're going to need an else part for this particular if statement that we do have in here. All right, so we are doing this in case if they couldn't actually meet the right criteria right here, we're reporting this error. But what if they meet the standard? So if they meet the standard, we can actually run some lines of code right here, which just basically where we're going to just try to initialize the payment. All right, so to initialize transaction, let me just put a comment in here and just say init, and I want to put that in the try and catch kind of a stop or try exception right here. So I'll just do try, and down here what I want to do in the except is actually, I'm going to just do catch right here. This is going to be catch. Let's do a catch right here. So we do a catch right here. Now within this particular catch, first of all, let me throw in the curly brackets in here. But within this particular place, we're going to just basically throw in our exception right here. This is going to be exception, and we can actually go ahead and create a variable called a ePram right here. And if we have that within that particular place, that's just fine. So down here, we just basically want to throw the error out if we ever have an error. So for that, we just do error, which is the variable we got up there, and we set that to be equal to this e parameter that we do have in here. And then we can use our arrow to get the message. So we're going to just do get message just like that, and that should just basically kind of do it for us right there. All right, so I'm going to terminate this line. Remember, we're going to just go ahead and integrate or initialize our transaction within this particular place right here, which we're going to just do in a jiffy. All right. And if we do something like echo, something like, let's say, trans or transaction started just like that, so that just kind of looks okay. So what I want to do right now is this error right here that we do have in here, I want to like find a way to like go ahead and then I put it within our form right here. All right, and to do that, I just basically want to display the error if we ever got any errors. All right, so just right after the h2 right here, I want to use if statement to like output the error message right here. So I'm gonna just do if, and what I want to do with this if right, not just basically I'm going to just use a shorthand if right here. So I'm gonna just do if error. So this is just going to be that particular variable that we do have up there, and I'm gonna just throw in our this right here, and we can just terminate this, and on getting down right here, we can go ahead and then close the if statement in here. So this is going to be php, and we're going to just basically do end if. So let's terminate that right here, but I want to go ahead and then put a message within this particular place, which is just basically going to be a div. So let's say div, and then we'll have a class, and let's just basically set the class to error. All right, so this is going to be error right here, which you've actually seen in our css already, and we can actually go ahead, once we want to close, let's close this first of all. Sorry about that. So this is just basically going to get closed right here, and then we can use php shorthand right here to put out a message. All right, so I'm going to just basically do HTML, and I'm going to just like try to use this particular HTML special chars, which helps in protecting us from some harmful shit that some people can actually do. All right, so and we can just go ahead and just pass our error variable in here, and we can go ahead and then terminate that right here, and we can also close the div. So this is going to be div like that. All right, so just save the changes in here, and if we go back to this environment and then we refresh, we do have an error right here which talks about an error variable. Let's create an error variable up here and just set that to an empty string right here, so that we don't initially get that error once we get on this particular page. It seems like it's still right there, error. So I think what we need to do is, if we want to copy this error right here, I think I did not even type that correctly. And again, we need to have it outside of this particular function that we have in here, talking about this particular form that we have in here. So we need to have it outside if we want to get rid of that particular issue. So if we refresh in here, we see that the error is just basically gone, and we can actually fill this form out. So I'm going to just say chijioke and David, and I'm going to just throw in just anyhow email right here, and then hit on proceed. You see that we have transaction started right here. So this is now the right time for us to start writing the lines of code for us to be able to like begin the transaction proper. And to do that is really going to be very simple. What I'm going to do is that of course, we're going to just basically stop the video right here because I know that this one has actually taken a long time. We're going to just break the videos into maybe 2 or 3 parts, all right? But right here, what we're going to do is that at a later time or in the next video, we're going to just kind of go ahead and then open up this particular Paystack right here, which is just where we're going to just be writing our OOP to be able to initialize the payment right here just comfortably, all right? So that's just basically what we're going to do in the next video. But for now, I'm just going to just basically stop right here, and I think I'll just basically see you guys in the next one. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and drop that in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next one.